Most LSAT students sabotage their own scores in the final week. They panic, they cram, they convince themselves that if they just push harder, if they just squeeze in a few more practice tests, they'll magically boost their score. And then they show up on test day exhausted, stressed, and second-guessing themselves. But here's what nobody tells you. The final week before your LSAT isn't about learning more. It's about locking in what you already know and walking into test day with a clear, confident mind. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. I'll share the 3 biggest mistakes students make in the last week and how to avoid them, a strategy that'll help you retain more while doing less, and the exact test day plan to keep you focused, calm, and ready to crush the LSAT. For those who don't know me, my name is Steve Schwartz. I'm the founder of LSAT Unplugged. I've been teaching the LSAT since 2005, and I personally raised my own LSAT score from a 152 to a 175. I've worked with thousands of students, people who were struggling at 140, people stuck in the 160s, and students trying to break into the 170s. And one thing I can tell you with absolute certainty, what you do in these last few days can make or break your score. The biggest mistake is cramming at the last minute. I get it, you want to make the most of every second before test day, but let's think about this logically. Imagine you have a sponge. If it's completely dried out, it can absorb a ton of water. But if it's already soaking wet and you try to add more, nothing sticks, it just spills everywhere. That's your brain right now. If you've been prepping for months, your brain is already full. Adding more information at this stage doesn't help, it just overwhelms you. The solution? Instead of trying to cram in more information, spend the final days reinforcing what you already know. Review your mistake patterns. Look at your last 5 practice tests and pinpoint what types of questions tripped you up. Then, do some quick, focused drills. For example, if logical reasoning is your weak point, don't do an entire section, just practice maybe a few weekend questions to reinforce the patterns. And don't take a full exam the day before your LSAT. Seriously, just don't. You don't want to burn yourself out. Now, one of my students, Alex, was scoring in the mid-160s but desperately wanted a 170. He thought, if I just do another full-length test the night before, I'll be more prepared. So he did it, and the next day, he bombed. His brain was fried, and he actually underperformed compared to his last 5 practice tests. But my other student, Megan, took the opposite approach. She shut her books 2 days before the test and did nothing but a little light review. Her final score? 5 points higher than her practice average. Less is more in the final days. Now, the second big mistake is freaking out over one bad practice test. Imagine you take a test 2 days before your actual LSAT and your score drops by 6 points. Cue the panic spiral. Oh my God, what if this happens on the real thing? Am I getting worse? Should I push my test back? Stop everything. One practice test means nothing. It's a single data point. It's noise. Think of it like weather versus the climate. One rainy day doesn't mean the entire season is ruined. What matters is your trend. Look at the average of your last 5 practice tests. That's the best predictor of your real LSAT score. One of my students, Brian, went into total meltdown mode when he scored a 157 on his last practice test before his exam. I told him to chill. Look at the real average, 163. Luckily, he followed the plan, stuck to his strategies, and on test day, he got a 165. Trust your prep, not your last practice test. The third big mistake is ignoring test day logistics. You could be the best LSAT taker in the world, but if you mess up the basics on test day, none of it matters. Here's how people self-sabotage. They wake up late, skip breakfast, and rush to start the test in a panic. Or maybe their roommate's hogging the Wi-Fi during the remote LSAT, and as a result, they have technical issues. Or they show up to the testing center with the wrong ID and aren't allowed in. All of these things, totally preventable. Here is your test day checklist. If you're taking the LSAT remotely, test your Wi-Fi and your computer now, not the morning of. Make sure your roommates and family are aware of what you're doing. Or if you're taking the LSAT in person at a testing center, set out your ID, wallet, and a clear water bottle the night before. Third, wake up at the same time you've been waking up for your practice tests. Your body has to be in the same rhythm. Finally, have a pre-game routine. Light stretching, deep breaths, maybe even a short warm-up with a couple of LSAT questions to get your brain moving. Now, one of my students, Lauren, was stuck at a 159 and couldn't figure out why. She had the fundamentals down, but she kept running out of time. When we worked together, we diagnosed the real issue. She was overthinking the first 10 questions, leaving herself scrambling at the end. We shifted her pacing, tightened up her logical reasoning process, and bam, 171 on test day. If you want a customized day-by-day strategy to target your weak spots and address them, check out my personalized LSAT coaching programs. You can use the links below to book a call with me and my team. We'd be glad to help you out on your journey to scoring a 170 plus. Now, here's the biggest mistake students make on test day. They walk in terrified. They think, this test determines my entire future. Let's instead reframe that. The LSAT is just another practice test. You've done this before. The format is the same. The questions are the same. The only difference is your mindset. And guess what? You can always retake the LSAT. Law schools only care about your highest score. If April doesn't go perfectly, who cares? You've got June and beyond. Just go in, execute, and trust your prep. To make this even easier for you, I've put together a free, easy LSAT cheat sheet with my top strategies for timing, accuracy, and mindset. You can grab your copy with the links below, and it's 100% free. Now, a couple of final things to remember. First, don't cram in the final days. Reinforce what you already know instead. Remember that one bad practice test doesn't mean anything. Trust your trend, not one outlier, and prepare for test day logistics. Don't let dumb mistakes cost you points. You've put in the work. Now it's time to trust in yourself and your prep. And if you'd like my help, check out the links below. And in the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.